Welcome back to History in Motion, proudly brought to you by Midas. This week in our Most Wanted feature, we have a look at the Alfa Romeo Giulia, which was one of the first lightweight cars in mainstream production to boast a powerful engine with a top speed of 170 kilometers per hour. The Giulias were noted for their lively performance in the era, which is still evident today. The drag coefficient of the Giulia is even lower than that of a Porsche 911 of the same era, aiding in some speedy lap times. As the sun begins to set, the time is nigh for the Liqui Moly endurance cars to take to the track for their 1-hour race. 45 cars line up on the grid and the action is bound to be exciting.
Damon is going to be qualifying for us. We're doing it just as we're doing some testing on the vehicle. And yeah, we are hoping to do well in the class that we're running. I think we're running in G class. Out to have a good time and support Dezzi and have a good time, eh? Yeah.
Well, the plan going forward, firstly, thank you to Elton for giving me the drive. Really awesome car to drive. Circuit very busy. I've got to be careful. And Elton's going to start the race. He's got more time behind the wheel than the car, so he knows the car very well.
We're down in Port Shepstone at Dezzi Raceway, and Alfa's back in motorsport for the first time since the 80s and 90s. And we're really excited. We've just finished the qualifying lap here. We did a 27.6, which is great. We're thrilled about that. We're lying second in class at the moment. We built up a 3.2 V6 Alfa GT through ADF Motorsport. We decided to do the Africa Endurance Series in January because we were looking for something to prove how good the Alfa product is and to find a mechanism or a tool to come back into the market with racing. Behind me is the Alfa. We've got a couple of our spin-off products such as the Alfa Giulietta Squadra Corsa, and if you look at the racing car, we've also branded it Squadra Corsa. So that's really the line we're going to. The heritage and the passion behind motorsport is really what we're about.
The car is really fantastic. It's very predictable to drive. It's easy to control. We had some problems in the beginning because there's so much traffic on this very small circuit and very little place to pass. So I had to make a bit of a gap to try and get a clean run. It worked on the second last lap for us, so I'm quite happy with that. I think there's probably another half a second at least, or probably another second in the track. Found it a bit slippy compared to yesterday. So we'll do some setup on the car just to get the back end a little bit more tight.
The car is fantastic to drive. I mean, it's a front-wheel drive. It's brilliant to drive. We've had an awesome weekend so far with the car. No hitches on the car. And I think, yeah, Martin has now set up a good time to as a starting point for us. And I think we can only improve on that.
I'm a firefighter in Durban, so often there's baptisms of fire that we go to when we're fighting building fires or refinery fires. But this baptism of fire going into just the white heat of racing is completely something else. So the picture you see on the back of my helmet, really indicative of what I was going into this morning. Yet another baptism of fire, but it was great.
Dino Scribante and the Tiga heads up the field. The Juno of Duncan and Graham Force lines up alongside him. Colin Ellison is in third place. Jeff Gable is the fastest Lotus in 8th position, with the Porsche 911 of Steven Pushaves in 12th. The lights go out and Duncan Force gets a great start and surges into the lead ahead of the Tiga. It's Juno ahead of Tiga as they make their way through turn 1. Colin Ellison, Son Woodley and Peter Jenkins are nose to tail as they round turn 1. Jeff Gable is the first Lotus and he leads David Jeremy. Behind them is the Alfa Romeo GT 3.2 with Pushaves, Pickering and Harper hot on his heels. Down into the corkscrew the Juno drops with the Tiga inches behind him. The afternoon sun setting the scene as the field streamed through on the first lap of this endurance race. There are a few categories racing in this class. The Liqui Moly endurance cars, including the Lotus endurance cars and round 2 of the African Endurance Series. On board now with John McLaughlin in the Alfa Romeo GT 3.2, who is chasing down the Campos Yves Martini Porsche 911 RSR. Onto the main straight and the Porsche pulls away slightly. Into turn 1 and the Porsche 911 RSR leads the Alfa with the Porsche 910 having a look down the inside. Stefan Pushaves is right behind with Craig Harper hot on his heels. On board with Harper now, and the sun is really blinding as you climb up to the tricky right-hander. Down the inside Harper goes, and he makes the pass on Stefan Pushavez. Round the right-hander and into the corkscrew, and it's a four-way battle between Campos, McLachlan, Theron and Harper. They file cleanly through the hairpin and continue the battle down the sweeping left-hander to the bottom of the hill. The Alpha closing in on the Martini Porsche as they make their way through the open right-hand sweep. Something up with Campos there, and McLachlan capitalizes on the error and accelerates past. Pickering is not quite close enough to take the advantage, but he does close in on the battle, as does Craig Harper. A quick look here at the spin for David Jeremy in his Lotus at the bottom of the corkscrew. In the final complex, Sun Moly is feeling the pressure from Dino Scribante as the pair make their way past the Mercedes-Benz of Colin Keane. Into the left-hander, and Scribante takes the inside line and passes the Bigfoot Porsche of Sun Moly. Down the main straight, and Ellison is ahead of Jenkins in the Chevron B19 battle. Sun Moly has moved up alongside the Tiga as the pair race down the main straight through all the traffic. Into turn one, the Tiga has the advantage and stays ahead of Moly. Scribante coming up on KZN driver Rob Mordaunt at the top of the hill. Mordaunt eventually moves wide and lets the Tiga through, and Scribante accelerates away. Well, the Alpha of Paul Manigault looks like he has had a problem, and he rolls down the hill, and that looks like retirement for him, unfortunately. In the final complex, it's Ellison ahead of Jenkins with a very rapid force behind him. The Harper Type 5 comes to the end of the straight and turns left to begin its climb up the hill. Side by side, the Juno and the Chevron power down the straight. Force moves ahead and puts Ellison a lap down. Yellow flags are out and the safety car is called into action to retrieve the stricken Alpha of Paul Manigault off the hill and out of danger. As we are within the pit window, this will be the prime time for all the cars to come in for the obligatory 2-minute pit stop. The Jaguar safety car picks up the field and leads them past Manigault as the marshals begin the retrieval process. Into the pits comes Fred de Kolk in the Hendok Nissan 370Z, and the timer begins, as quick adjustments are done to the car. The Porsche 910 of Pickering and Theron is in for its stop. A quick drink of water for Theron there. Craig Harper brings the Harper Type 5 into the pits, which are looking rather congested as everyone tries to get their stop in while the safety car is out. In Craig Harper rolls, and out goes the Porsche 910 with Ruan Theron at the wheel. Graham Force is in the Juno as his team strap him in. John McLachlan gets out of the Alfa Romeo 3.2 and in gets Martin Buerta. Neville redirecting the Lotus out of the pits. Pit stop done, and the Harper heads out of the pits and back onto the track, ready to do the last stint. A little bit sideway into turn one. Sun Moly heads out again, as does Jannie van Rooyen. Rob Mordaunt is released behind two other Lotuses as they make their way back onto the track, and all the action resumes. A top-up of fuel for the Van Rensburg VW Golf. The countdown continues for Quinton Roux, who waits patiently. Lights on, and Dino Scribante is ready to roll after his pit stop. Pedal to the metal, and off he goes. A bonnetless Brett Maurice's roll to safety and retirement at the side of the track. The sun drops lower on the horizon and the battle on the track heats up. Campos leads Ellison and Dino Scribante through the left-hander. Into the hairpin, and Ellison dives down the inside of the Porsche, and Scribante has a look as well. Ellison gets ahead of the Porsche and the Tiga powers past as they make their way to the sweeping downhill left-hander. Through they come, the Tiga in hot pursuit of the Chevron. Scribante takes the inside line and Ellison lets the faster car through. Coming out of the corkscrew, and it's the Frankie's Toyota of Mike Schmidt which is pulling over into retirement. He has lost a wheel and the Toyota will go no further. A disappointing end to the day for Mike Schmidt. Into the hairpin, Sun Moly and Graham Foss go. Sun Moly follows the race leader Graham Foss through the open right-hand sweep at the bottom of the track. Past the VW Golf of Elton Fuchs they go. They're having to pick their way through quite a bit of traffic as the race closes turn end, and the huge field is now quite spread out. Force comes up on Hubi van Moltke and passes him through the S's and up the hill to the final complex. Hands up for Etienne Stradom as he slows down and retires into the pits due to not having any lights with him. On board with Craig Harper as he makes his way down the corkscrew and comes up on some Lotuses. Past Quinton Roux he goes. Ahead of him now, the Black Lotus of Rod Schaefer. As they make their way down the left-hand sweep. The Alpha with Martin Buerta comes past and goes a lap ahead of the Harper Type 5. The Lotus and Harper follow Buerta round the right-hander and past Rod Schaefer. Coming into the pits is the VW Golf of Elton Fuchs, a real shame for the team. On board with Son Woodley as he catches the Harper Type 5. Round the right-hander. Accelerated down and Woodley passes Harper. Fred de Kock follows Woodley through. Raymond Lumeau is on the grass and it is the end of the race for him. Front runner Dino Scribante and the Tiga also retiring from the endurance race due to his mains cable breaking from the alternator, despite the team's attempts to do running repairs. A great debut here for the Alfa Romeo GT 3.2 and we look forward to great things to come from this car. Graham Force comes into the complex for the final time, and the Juno has had a faultless race, and he will come down to the start-finish straight to take the checkered flag and victory in the Liqui Moly endurance race. Craig Harper round the final left-hander. And celebrates as he goes past his pit crew. He's happy with that. 8th overall for the Harper Type 5. Coming over the line to take second is Colin Ellison, 1 minute, 24 seconds behind the leader. And that is it. The end of a fantastic day's racing here at Dezzi Raceway. Confirmation of the results and a comfortable win for Duncan and Graham Force in the African Endurance Series. Colin Ellison taking 2nd overall and the endurance race victory. Jeff Gable came home 4th overall and was the first Lotus. 1, 2 and 3. The podium lines up and Graham Force eases himself out of the Juno. Congratulations all round.
It's a fantastic new venue they've got here in Natal. I'm sure its history has been made today. There's a huge crowd. You know, I think the local community has been starved of motorsport for such a long time, and it's so nice to be racing in front of so many people and having a great day at a new track. So we're really happy. And then the safety car came out, and then we came into the pits. And to be honest, I don't really know what happened, but I think we had a slightly better pit stop than him, because when Graham went out, we were in the lead.
Yeah, no, it was difficult. It's a tough track. The first 10 minutes were fun, the rest were a bit much, but yeah, we just got into a rhythm and paced it. Hey, these cars are a 45-year-old car, so you got to look after it. They're very precious. So gearbox is the main thing. You look after the brakes. So we just paced it, and where we ended up was just luck. Yeah, good.
I had a good race. I slowed down in the end because I was worried about my fuel running a bit low, but otherwise the car was strong. Traffic was a bit of a challenge. Otherwise, I enjoyed it. Every now and then there was a Lotus in front of me. I took a breather, so that's how I was able to manage the race on my own. And I'm usually doing a lot of endurances, so I love it. Yeah, I pace myself usually.
History in Motion is proudly brought to you by Midas Sport, Gumtree, Mitsubishi Electric and their associated sponsors. Be a part of the fun on the 9th of May at Kyalami with round 3 of the Midas Historic Tour. Don't miss it.